throughout the Eastern Front and the Mediterranean as well, and into northern France. So, as well as German soldiers, Wehrmacht, the German army did have actually Luftwaffe fighting as ground troops as well. Okay, thank you, sir. Other weapons we've got a bit more equipment here. This is the, does anyone know this one?
MG34. Shout out.
Another guess?
MG34.
Okay, MG34, who said that? Well done, thank you very much. It's an MG34. Now this was a very, very well machined machine gun. It's a fully automatic. German support weapons were always belt fed. We had the 42 later on, but this was the earlier version, the 34. There's a lot of machine parts on it, very, very expensive to make, but it was a fantastic machine gun. Nothing ever came close to this with the quality of it. But what the Germans found was they could never produce enough of them, because it was so complicated to make with all the screw parts and the machine parts on it. So an order went out to actually supersede this machine gun, and eventually the MG42 was chosen. And the MG42 was not as well made, but actually made it a bit better. Don't worry, it's not going to fire, we hope. Now the MG42, which superseded the 34, again, it's not as a quality machine gun, but it was very, very accurate and produced in a large amount. But the 34 was continued to produce right until the end of the war. It just required a bit more tooling and a bit more metal and a bit more equipment to get all the tolerances right on it. That would have a caliber of 7.92 exactly like the rifle. And that would fire about 800 to 900 rounds per minute. The MG42 actually reached incredible rates of well up to 1,200 rounds per minute. The barrel got very hot on those, didn't it, sir, which had to be changed quite regularly, and you can see the cooling vents on it to help keep them cool. Spare barrels kept in there, and it's belt fed all the time with the ammunition. And again, they're from the Hermann Göring unit, which is named after the leader, one of the big leaders in the German political movement. Okay, thank you, sir. Now the next soldier we've got, he's on tropical duty. Now the Germans occupied a lot of countries and operating in so many different types of territories, from the freezing wastelands of Norway near the Arctic Circle to the steppes of the Soviet Union, right into Egypt near enough, and into Palestine to some extent as well. And they sent people out to India, all over the place. So they were operating in all different types of climates. So this soldier here is equipped for the tropical countries. He's got his pith helmet on, which keeps his head nice and cool and away from sunburn. And he's equipped with the HBTs, which is the lightweight type of German uniform. And you can see he's got a cup title on, which marks him out African Corps. And so he'd have been operating in the Sahara, maybe in an oasis or something, in maybe Tunisia or Libya, that sort of place. Cool boots as well, canvas, not leather right up. And he's from the field police, or the Feld Gendarmerie. The Feld Gendarmerie were soldiers that tried to keep, and did keep, order in the German army. And they had the responsibility for looking after prisoners of war and guarding important ammunition dumps, or just generally keeping order and checking papers in the German army. And the German soldiers had a nickname for them, which I'm not going to say too loud because he would actually be able to arrest me. If you notice around his neck he's got a gorget, and German soldiers used to call them chained dogs, which to a German soldier is quite funny. Maybe not to us, but if you're German that is funny. They used to be called chained dogs, and that's with the gorget there. So we turn around soldier, and he's armed with an MP40, and he's got his kit there. Slightly different colour to it because he's operating in the desert and the sand, which camouflages it a bit better rather than the green, so he's repainted that to make it a bit, the camouflage a bit better in the desert. And we're talking about the Waffenball, which is the colours. If you're in the field police, you have like an orangey brown colour on your collars, against the regular troops which have white, and the Panzer Grenadiers which have green that we saw earlier on. Okay, soldier, thank you very much. So give our Germans a round of applause, that's all of them gone. Different indeed. I was saying earlier, 80% of the German army were killed on the Eastern Front. Now, of course, it was Hitler's great dream to invade the Soviet Union. He'd been hinting at that from the 1930s through Mein Kampf. This living space or living room that he wanted for the German nation. And he invaded the Soviet nation in June the 21st, 1941. Of course, it went very, very well for the German army to start with. And he actually reached Moscow by Christmas time. But then there was a terrible winter, temperatures -30, -40 degrees. The German soldiers could not cope with these temperatures. But the tough...
Okay, brilliant.
Okay, let's give a round of applause. Fantastic display. That's our Soviet soldiers. You'll see them later on in the battle. We're actually going to bring everyone together on the World War II battle, so it's not going to be pure realism because we're going to have the Soviets fighting with everyone else, but it makes it more exciting getting everyone on, doesn't it? We're not going to be pure realism in the battle later on. We're going to bring everyone on. Well, God knows how it's going to go, but we're going to try and get it organised. Right, let's have a look at some more soldiers. Who are we going to bring on next? We have some of the American man. Now these are soldiers here. Now without these guys we wouldn't have won the war, certainly not. Straight over for America. Let's give a round of applause. They're over here for the first time. And ladies and gentlemen, that's right. Now these guys here from a very famous regiment. And these are airborne troops, and the regiment they're from is the 82nd Airborne. And you can recognise it from the 82nd Airborne because they have an emblem on the side, the AA, which stands for All American. And these are paratroopers or airborne troops, and these would have the job of parachuting out of or landing on landing on the ground with a glider and securing very, very important points ready for the main troops to relieve them. And the whole idea that these operated nice and lightly, but America was the richest country at this time in the world. And being the richest country, they could give their troops anything they wanted. And that would range from a fighting knife, which that soldier's got there, right through to a knuckle duster. And he's absolutely kitted out with as much stuff that he would need. Very, very effective fighting troops indeed. Very, very well motivated, very, very well equipped. And really, they put a lot of the British soldiers to shame for their equipment and training that they had. And very, very important part of their equipment are their jump boots, and veterans of the 82nd today still proudly wear these jump boots. They were issued when you were fully trained, and they're the brown boots that they've got, a very sort of iconic item of the 82nd Airborne. And these landed in Normandy, and they fought all the way through the Bocage, which is the French countryside, right through into Germany, and right into the south of Germany as well, nearly to Hitler's headquarters. And I'm going to fire the mortar. So if you get your men ready, Sheriff.
Excellent.
They walk through there.
Carbine and mortar.
Got some rope on the back because landing on a parachute, you really didn't know where you were going to land if you were blown off course. You know, there's examples of people landing on churches and up trees, and the only real way to get down there is to string these ropes together and get your men down. So this is exactly how they would have been in Normandy in 1944, the invasion, D-Day, Operation Overlord, the liberation of Europe from the Germans. So we're going to be able to fire this mortar. This is a small mortar, and we're going to fire the carbine as well. Okay, we're going to try and fire the carbines. So let's have a go, soldiers. Again, the thing about the carbine, quite a small caliber, but if you were a German soldier and you were hit by one of those, it would bring you down. And these were really issued as just a weapon to clear infantry off tanks. The M1 carbine. Now, the mortar, this will be dropped with them. This would be carried or more likely dropped in a canister, and the soldiers will pick them up and assemble this mortar. And we were talking about mortars earlier on. Very effective weapon because you didn't actually know where these mortar shells were landing on you. Smaller than the 81mm, but again it had to be nice and light so they would take them around. So have a look at that. And this would have a range of probably only about 800 metres, but you know, a very nice, simple, effective weapon that could bring down fire onto a German position and create confusion in the German infantry. And of course everything has to be kept as light as possible. Again, a good mortar team. We'll probably get 5 or 6 in the air before the first one hits the ground. Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, thank you, sir. That's our American soldiers. We'll see them later on in the big battle. Let's give them a really good round of applause. We're going to bring some commandos in first. Okay. Right, let's give them a good round of applause. They call it to our bricks. Right, now these are the lads that have been training up. They suffered quite a big setback at Dunkirk when they were put back into the United Kingdom, but they've been spending all the time retraining, refishing and re-equipping, and they're ready to land back on Deliverance Day, Operation Overlord, D-Day, and take back the continent of Europe and free everybody in Europe again. Now, the sort of equipment that they're going to bring for this are the standard submachine gun, which they've got here, and the standard rifle of the infantryman is the Lee Enfield 303 caliber, and these are airborne troops as well. Very similar to the Americans, they have the same job. These are the British airborne troops, and they would have to land on very important points on control lists, ready for the regular infantry to relieve them. And these are from the 6th Airborne Division. And being in division, they had a lot of different occupations in there. The vast majority were soldiers, of course, but they had artillery in there. They would have specialist engineers in there as well. And again, these would have to land very, very light as well. They had to land in gliders and be dropped by parachute. And being paratroopers, they had their iconic red beret on, which is still used today by the paratroopers, and their Denison smocks, very effective. Rocket propelled, it was actually spring propelled, and that sounds a bit daft really, but it was quite effective because it never had any flash from it, so the Germans actually could never see where these things were bouncing onto the tanks. And the idea was when that was fired, it would actually reload the spring as well, but if it didn't, it was quite a hard process to actually pull the spring back to load it for the next one, and then that would have an effective range probably well up to about 50 meters.